Hey, 6th grade, here's a quick video on how we can make predictions using probability. That's kind of the whole reason we find probability. We want to use the data to help us in the future. Just like in your projects, hopefully you can use your information to predict what more people would say. Or if you're starting a business, you could use that data to help you decide what your product line is going to be, that kind of thing. So here's a quick lesson on predicting events. So let's see how we do. First of all, what does prediction mean? Well, a prediction is simply something that you can expect to happen in the future. Okay? Weather forecasters use it. There's a 30% chance of rain, whatever it might be. So we use probability to figure out what we can expect to happen in the future. Let's look at an example. We got this bloke, his name is Lawrence, really nice guy. He finds the experimental probability of his reaching first base is 40%. So first base, this is baseball here, we're talking baseball. We have a little diamond, that's our baseball diamond. This here is first base. So we have Lawrence, he's the batter. The probability of him getting to first base is 40%. And he wants to know out of 350 at-bats, how many times is he going to get to first base? Can he expect to? Like on average, what would we expect him to get? So the first thing you want to do is set up a little equation. And the equation is going to be percentage, 4 out of 10 is 40%, right? Times 350. So 40% times 350 is going to give us our prediction. Now we can set it up that way, or we can set it up, we can write 40% as 0.4 times 350. Both of those are 40%, right? Okay, so then you can just use your nifty-difty calculator, which is so wonderful that I let you use one because I am so nice. And so I do 40% or 0.4 times 350 equals 140. On this one, I do 4 times 350 divided by 10 equals 140. They're both 140. So what does that tell me? Well, that tells me, if I multiply, I'm going to undo that. That tells me that if this guy Lawrence gets up to bat 350 times, 140 of those 350 he should get on base. So if I want to write it as a probability, I could say 140 out of 350 he will get to first base. 140 times is what we're looking at. Alright? So there's another way, of course, because it's mathematics and there's always more than one way to do something, to solve this situation. We can use proportions, just like we did when we did percentages last unit. Using proportion is very useful. So I'm going to start with my percentage. My probability is 4 out of 10. 40% of the time he gets to first base. We want to know how many times out of 350, that's the total, is he going to get to first base. So remember, percent over 100, so I could do 40 over 100 equals part or favorable outcomes over total outcomes. Okay? So now I do this cross multiply and then divide. And if I do 40 times 350 divided by 100, I get 140, the same exact thing. So 140 times he should reach, this Lawrence dude, first base. And I'm going to tell you right now, if he gets to first base 40% of the time, he is probably playing in the major leagues. That's a really good percentage, okay? So that's what we have for, I'm going to go back. I'm going to stop for just a second and go to the next. So that was using experimental probability. I watched Lawrence play baseball. I saw that he got on first base 4 out of 10 times, and then I made a prediction based on that. Well, now we're going to use theoretical probability, what should happen, to make predictions. I have a spinner. It has 8 sections. I always like to draw these spinners just because they're fun. There's 4 sections. There's 8 sections. Okay? It says 3 sections are labeled 1. 1, 1, 1. 2 are labeled 2. That makes sense. 2, 2. They're not very equal, sorry. And the others are labeled 3, 4, 5. How often can you expect to spin a 1? So I want to know what the probability of spinning a 1 is. Well, remember, probability is favorable outcomes, favorable over total outcomes. Okay? Which means, how many times does 1 occur? 1, 2, 3 times. Total outcomes are 8 equal sections. The probability of spinning a 1 is 3/8. 3 out of 8, I should get a 1. Now I want to make a prediction. If I spin it 50 times, how often can I expect to spin a 1? Well, I'm going to set up my proportion. I have the probability 3 out of 8 times equals how many favorable out of 50? Cross multiply, divide. 3 times 50 is 150. I can do a little mental math. Then I'm going to divide by 8, and I get 18.75. Well, that doesn't make sense. How can I get 18.75 spins? So I would round up here to 19. I can expect about 19 times I land on 1. 19 times, I should say 19 times out of 50, I land on 1. So that's how we make predictions based on probability. Set up a little proportion, cross multiply, divide, you're all set. Alright, so to wrap up, you can use probability to predict events a couple of ways. By using multiplication, you can multiply the percent. You can multiply the percent times the predicted number of outcomes, okay? So, percent times outcomes, or you can set up a proportion. And as you can probably tell, I like this best, proportion. So those are 2 ways to make predictions, super important, predictions based on data and based on probability. All right, we'll review this in class. Hope this helps a little bit. You guys are amazing. All right, bye.